Fairfield Federal. When it comes to our customers and our community, we go above and beyond to help. Our people make the difference.
It's a hometown bank. It's located here in Fairfield County. Branches are convenient. They're located here in Pickerington, where my office is. I'm in Lancaster a lot, and they have plenty of branches there. And I much prefer dealing with the hometown banks rather than the larger nationwide chain banks.
So far, everybody's been so personable, and for us to bank with the local bank, and we bank in Lancaster, it's been so wonderful because we'll call somebody, Steve will call somebody, and they'll get back to us right away, or they'll say, okay, we're going to make a decision in the basement tomorrow, and they'll get back to us, rather than calling a bigger bank where we had to wait and we didn't always get the same person the next time we called for a investment banking opportunity, or getting something appraised, any of those kind of things.
Everybody is very customer friendly. A lot of times I'll bring my dog Bear with me, and the staff love him here, and of course he loves them and the treats that he gets. So it's just a nice kind of a family type environment.
Personal or business banking, whatever you need, we take it seriously because we know you do. Stop by today at any of our 3 locations and see why the difference is clear. Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan specializes in banking that revolves around you.
Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender. Interphase Video, in cooperation with the Lancaster Fairfield County Chamber of Commerce, presents the 2020 Lancaster, Ohio State of the City Address. Brought to you in part by Fairfield Federal, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Personal Touch Party Rentals, Buckeye Lake Marina, South Central Power, Fairfield Medical Center, and Fairfield National Bank.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct privilege and high honor to introduce to you today the Mayor of the City of Lancaster, Mayor David Scheffler.
Well, good morning. What a turnout. I think I'm safe to say this is the largest turnout for the State of the City in history, and it was moved here this year because we actually outgrew Olivedale, despite the fact that was a wonderful venue. We just needed more space. So, before I get started, I would like to ask all the city employees to please stand up. Don't be shy. Great, and I would like to thank these folks for making my job easier and for making my job a great place to show up at the morning. So thank you. You can be seated. So there's a lot going on. We have limited time, and I understand I have until 9 o'clock, and that's not a joke. That's actually true. So I want to start out by giving a little background. So I had a 40-year career in public accounting, and at least the last half of that I worked with very large healthcare organizations that were a lot like governments. And some of them, as a matter of fact, were governments because they were either city or county hospitals. So I thought I was pretty well prepared for life as the mayor. So I quickly learned 3 lessons, however. The first lesson was that government is more complicated than anybody could ever imagine, including me, though I thought I had a good handle on it. The second thing I learned is it takes forever to get something done in government, and that's not because city employees or staff are lazy or incompetent. That's because state laws and local rules, the Ohio Revised Code and the Lancaster Codified Ordinances, put in lots of safeguards that you just have to jump through all the hoops to get something done. So something that you could do in 6 minutes or 6 hours in private industry takes 6 weeks or longer in government, unfortunately. And the third thing I learned pretty quickly is that the city doesn't have any money, and we're going to talk about that. So everything, all the initiatives you try to do, we don't have any money. We don't have any money. So we're going to talk about that. I've been active in several mayors organizations, the Ohio Mayors Alliance and the Central Ohio Mayors and Managers Association. And when I go to their meetings, I always come away with two conflicting emotions. The first is I'm very happy because we don't have many of the problems that other cities have. Large cities and small cities, it's just great. But then the conflicting feeling is all these other cities have all these wonderful programs and benefits for citizens that we don't have because we can't afford them. So it's like we're going to talk about the problems and the benefits here very shortly. If I can figure out which button to push here. We'll work on that one. So this is kind of the agenda. I'm going to talk briefly about economic development, some departmental highlights, life in the city of Lancaster, a little education, city government 101, and the city financial status, and then a couple of brief announcements at the end. This isn't going to be a speech. I'm not a speechwriter. I consider this to be a class, and hopefully you take it as that. And while it might not be really exciting, I hope it's not boring either. Economic development. I've said this a lot, and some of you may have heard me say it, that economic development is like an iceberg. You can see a little bit above the water line, but there's a whole bunch below the water line. And we get all these comments on social media and letters to the editor about the city needs to do something about bringing jobs to Lancaster. Bring jobs to Lancaster. Bring high-paying jobs to Lancaster. What they don't realize is there is a lot of activity going on, but that's accompanied by long legal non-disclosure agreements, by code names, clandestine meetings. You won't see Mike Pettit very often entertaining a prospect at one of our fine restaurants in Lancaster because they don't want to be seen. They don't want their competitors or their suppliers to know that they're here. So rest assured, there is a lot of things going on in economic development that hopefully will result in some great announcements soon. So first of all, I want to talk about Magna Seating, 300 jobs. Obviously, that's been very prominent in the news. Vice President Pence was here at the official groundbreaking, and the city of Lancaster and Mike Pettit for his efforts resulted in the Mid-American Economic Development Council recognizing this project as the Small City Economic Impact Deal of the Year for the Midwest. So let's give Mike a big hand for all his work. So in case you haven't caught up on the status of Magna Seating at this point, their plant is finished. They have occupancy permits. They are currently installing equipment in the plant to begin operations in the very near future. They've actually been hiring people at the executive level, engineers, technicians, et cetera, for probably 6 months or more, and they've been operating out of the Port Authority spec building on Mill Park. But if you haven't been out there, drive out Mill Park. If you go out 188 West and turn right at the Highway Patrol Station, you'll soon see the Magna plant. You can't miss it. Directly across the street from the new Magna plant, the South Central Power Complex will be constructed starting this year. South Central Power bought 42 acres, and they will be consolidating their headquarters. It's at Coon Path and 188 on the other side of town, along with their operations from Canal, Winchester, and Circleville. So we're looking forward to having them back in the Lancaster at the Rockmill Industrial Park. Blue Label Digital Packaging is across from Treehouse Foods out at the 22-37 split. A lot of people probably haven't heard of them. They're a really exciting company. They just built an addition to their plant, and they're hiring 30 people. I believe the publicized payroll was $1.7 million for those 30 people. You can do the math as to how good those jobs are. More coming from them. Fairfield Medical Center opened their River Valley campus this year, added 60 jobs. It's a great looking building. I just talked to CEO Jack Genoso, said they've already exceeded their end of year one projections for utilization, and I know the Y facility there, I've been going there, and the use of that facility has also picked up significantly. Anchor Hocking, Sleeping Giant. Nobody hears much about Anchor Hocking, but they are have either already or are in the process of adding 150 jobs. They relocated their Savannah distribution center to Lancaster, to the distribution center out across from Liberty Center. And they are bringing a second furnace and tank online, hopefully late this summer, which will add a number of jobs that are included in that 150. Lemon Development, hot in the news recently, the Timbertop annexation and rezoning. Their plan is to build an assisted living facility at Timbertop, which will be 100 new jobs coming to Lancaster. CFM Global, the longtime vacant plant on South Ewing Street. It's been remodeled, painted, it looks great. They make glass filter media, or lots of different filter media, polyester and fiberglass. They started with one line. They've recently added a second production line and will be introducing fiberglass lines in the near future. So they have added a lot of jobs and will be adding more. CAM Logistics purchased in 2019 a 160,000 square foot warehouse at the Rock Mill Industrial Park. That serves a great need for our local manufacturers for warehouse space. SRI, West Rock, Midwest Coatings, Magna will all be using that facility for storage. One site certification. That's a wonderful thing to economic developers. It is a new Ohio program that certifies manufacturing and economic development sites as shovel ready. That means they have utilities, zoning, all the surveys, the EPA surveys, the Indian Artifact Survey, the Army Corps of Engineers, everybody has signed off, and it's a shovel-ready site. We have 3 sites certified in the East End Industrial Park, the West End Industrial Park, the Rubel site that we've recently purchased, and we have a 4th site that's currently undergoing that one site certification. It's a time-consuming and expensive process, but we're there, so we have sites ready to go. We have a Workforce Development Center, soon to be up and running on Coompath Road. It's the former Fairfield DD facility, kind of across from the gas station Wendy's, right between Coompath Road, on Coompath Road between 33 and the bypass. Easy access off of the bypass. We received a $1.25 million grant from the state. It's a county-owned building. The county will be managing that, and the curriculum and content there will be operated by a partnership of Ohio University and Hocking College. It will be a prime training center for Magna employees, and also starting out there'll be a lot of certificate type education like HVAC, carpentry, electrical, CDL driving, state tested nursing, nurse aides. So it is a big win for Lancaster. Thanks to Rick Zabrak for all his work on that, and the county for being generous with their facility. We've had numerous retail additions in Lancaster. I'm not going to go through all of them, but a very popular one has been Chipotle. I think a lot of people were impatient on the east side for that to open. And coming soon, Bridgestone Tire, which will be right beside, just south of the Sherwin-Williams plant on or Sherwin-Williams store on North Memorial Drive. So while we're talking about jobs and bringing jobs to Lancaster, this is a screenshot of the Ohio Means Jobs website yesterday, and I asked to filter the job search for the 43130 zip code and exact location only, and up pops 510 jobs available in Lancaster. Of the 510, 178 of them pay over $50,000. So there are jobs available. We need people here to do the work. Let's switch to housing for a minute. We have a severe shortage of housing in Lancaster. All of the multifamily developments are full or with very low occupancy. Most of those operators would consider a 66 or 7% vacancy rate typical. That's what they use in their projections for the banks. Most only have one apartment empty, and that typically is in transition from a move out to the new tenant moving in. Senior workforce and affordable developments are even in worse shape. They have a long waiting list, sometimes 50 or 60 names on a waiting list. So we have a housing issue in Lancaster that we're addressing. As part of that, we are participants of, in the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission Regional Housing Study. Thanks to the Lancaster Port Authority, the cost of participating in that study was $10,000, and the Port Authority paid for the city to participate. Lancaster, along with several other Central Ohio cities, has been singled out as one location that they're going to dig in a little deeper than the general study for the whole Morpsey area, which is 7 Central Ohio counties. We expect that study to be completed in early summer, and they will look at the problems, the need, possible sources, financing options, lots of things to report back to what we can do to address our housing shortage. Excuse me. Part of that is we have been fortunate to have 2 census tracts in Lancaster designated as federal opportunity zones, the only 2 in Fairfield County. And that's Census Tract 317 and 322, which are the immediate west side of Lancaster, of downtown, west of downtown, and the immediate east and south sides of town. That has a lot of benefits for investors because they can defer capital gains on property or investments that they've sold by investing in an opportunity zone. As part of that, we went on to get approved by City Council and by the State Development Services Agency a community revitalization area which overlays Census Tracts 317, 322, and 320. 320 is a census tract right between 320 and 317 and 322. Here's a map of that. Hopefully you can see it. I don't know if that has a pointer on it or not. I've got one here. Oop. Let me find it. Here we go. Basically, this is the downtown area. Census Tract 317 is this area on the west side of town. Census Tract 322 is this area on the east and south side of town. 320 is in the middle. So what the CRA overlay allows us to do is to allow abatement of real estate taxes on multifamily developments. So hopefully that is going to help solve our housing shortage, and we are investigating and will be going after some additional incentives that will help housing to grow in Lancaster.
Fairfield Medical Center took care of me like I was family.
I was made to feel like I was the only person that they were going to see that day, even though I knew that wasn't the case.
Everyone at Fairfield Medical Center was very attentive. They just put my mind at ease.
I was there for 12 days, and I felt comfortable there.
We were people to them, not a number. They took the time to get to know us, our personalities.
Well, they saved my life. You know, how do you beat that?
I don't know how I could have gotten through it without them.
Experience Fairfield Medical Center.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our 2 locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
Hi, I'm Carol Whittington, and I would like to invite you to stop by Personal Touch Party Rentals and Events, located at 1540 Hubbard Drive in Lancaster. We are a small family-owned business and have been servicing the Central Ohio and Hocking Hills area since 2003. Graduations with a personal touch, weddings with a personal touch, corporate events with a personal touch. Please call us today for all your party rental needs, 740-689-6991.
So what's happening now in the housing development? First of all, we have the East Point development, which is the former East School, 64 market rate apartments, which are under construction. If you drive out Wheeling Street toward Cherry Street Pub, you can go right past them. The Gateway site, 100 market rate apartments at the corner of Main Street and Memorial Drive. And they should break ground hopefully in late April or May. The flats on Memorial are 220 market rate apartments on North Memorial Drive, kind of behind the Ohio Health building out there that was open last year. I think they plan on getting started in August. They still have some rezoning to get accomplished and a public hearing by City Council to do that. Countryside Village, 112 market rate apartments for seniors on Granville Pike, across from Fisher Catholic High School and kind of behind the Bickford Assisted Living Facility. I haven't seen a start date for them, but they're working their way through approvals and the rezoning process. Timbertop, in addition to the assisted living building that Lemon Development is planning, they have a tentative agreement with a company called Vision Development to build approximately 200 market rate apartments. I have visited one of their sites in Columbus, and it is amazing, and it will be a wonderful addition to the Lancaster multifamily scene. Misty Meadows on West Fair Avenue, they have started. There are 50 single-family homes planned for there. They've got most of the infrastructure in, streets, sewers. They haven't paved yet, but they're ready to start building as soon as building permits get rolling. Some departmental highlights about what's going on in city departments. I don't have everybody included here. These are some highlights that I'm sure I've missed somebody, and I'm going to hear about it later today, but these are the ones I have. So, streets and transportation, big news for the city of Lancaster. The state legislature approved in their biennial budget an additional gas tax on top of what was there before, which is going to yield $850,000 additional dollars for paving streets and street maintenance in Lancaster. You may know that the street department is funded by their big funder is gas tax. And over the years, it hasn't increased for many, many years prior to this latest action. And vehicle mileage has been going up. People are driving less. The gas tax revenue has been stagnant or declining, which resulted in less money for street maintenance in Lancaster. So this is a big deal for us, and will be added on top of the $3 million levy money to help pave streets. In 2019, the street department resurfaced 17.1 miles of city streets or alleys. Again, big news for Lancaster. We actually received our first increased gas check in October, so we were able to get some additional work done in the fall that we hadn't planned on doing earlier. Sanitation, the new trash carts, which were somewhat controversial a year and a half ago. The system has been fully implemented and operational. Bill Burrows at the sanitation department continues to improve routes and methodologies for getting trash picked up on time and without a lot of fuss. They've also instituted a yard waste recycle program. In the past, the yard waste that was put out, grass clippings, leaves, twigs, and et cetera, were hauled to the landfill. The EPA has decreed that no longer could you haul yard waste to the landfill, so the sanitation department has opened up a recycling program behind the sanitation offices on South Ewing Street. And if you drive out South Ewing, you can see it. There's some very large piles of compost and mulch, which will be available for city residents in the spring. If you bring your utility bill that proves you're a Lancaster resident, you can load up your containers or your truck with compost or yard waste. So big benefit, saves us landfill fees and hauling fees, in addition, some benefit to the city of Lancaster. Human resources. We have some pretty negative news to report there. Since January of 2018, we have had significant medical claims on our insurance plan. In January 2018 alone, we had over $1 million in claims. The city pays or has paid in the past about $600,000 a month for medical insurance premiums for our employees. That is going up by $1.2 million for 2020 in the 2020 budget, which has put additional strain on our budget. Some months our claims experience has been better, some months it hasn't been. We just had a bad January 2020. The insurance folks would like us to have a $2.5 million reserve for unpaid claims. At the end of January 2020, it had dropped to $300,000. So we are changing our insurance arrangement. We've given notice to our current provider of terminating that arrangement on July 1st or June 30th because we were required to give a 6-month notice to avoid a huge penalty. So we will be changing our insurance arrangement and hopefully somehow mitigating the damage to city finances from that. A lot of the claims are as a result of 3 or 4 very sick people, and we know how medical bills can mount up if you have extended stays or very expensive medication. So, that's what insurance is for, and we're working through it. Parks Department, a lot of good news there this year. They opened the all-accessible playground at Hunter Park, thanks to a lot of efforts by the local Kiwanis Club. The New Year's Eve ball drop celebration was a huge hit. Big crowd downtown on New Year's Eve at midnight. We expect that to be even better at the end of this year. They opened the Olivedale Health and Fitness Center, which in space that Meals on Wheels moved out of to move into their new location at the former Cedar Heights School. And they received 20 acres in an estate, the Bowers property at the intersection of the bypass and Wilson Road. It's slated to be ball diamonds in the future. Unfortunately, again, we don't have the money to start work on that right away, and we have recruited the Operating Engineers Union to do all the site work on the Bowers property over the next 2 years to get that ready to plant grass for ball diamonds. And of course, the lighting of Mount Pleasant, another controversial thing from a couple of years ago, but a pleasant benefit for the citizens of Lancaster. Public transit, some really big news there. Our contract with our independent operator of our bus system expired at the end of 2019. We went out for bid. We had 5 providers show up for the pre-bid conference, but only 1 actually submitted a bid, and that was our current operator, but they raised their price by $450,000. We couldn't afford that. It would have significantly damaged our ability to provide public transit to the citizens of Lancaster. So we brought it in-house, saved the $450,000. We hopefully improve service. Carrie Woody, our transportation director, in the interim has driven a bus, been dispatched. I don't know if she might have done some mechanic work. Vacuum buses, but so far we're about up to speed with hiring employees. So back on track. During 2019, we added evening hours to all of our 4 city loops, and we added a Saturday loop on the first Saturday of every month. So huge ridership increases. They doubled over the last, 6 or 7 years, and it continues to be a wonderful benefit to the citizens of Lancaster. As part of that, she also got grants for a new driver break and training area. Again, an issue with getting work done. We applied for a grant with what we had estimated as the cost of doing that. Had the grant in hand, went out for bid. Nobody bid. Nobody wanted the work. Not big enough project. So we went back and got another grant and the permission to kind of select who does the remodeling, so I'm expecting that to get underway here in the very near future. So the current driver brake and training area is a former garage that has overhead garage doors. It's not warm, it's not nice, so we hope to have that improved. In addition to that, thanks to the Fairfield County Foundation and a state grant, the installation of the shelter at the bus hub on West Wheeling Street right by Memorial Drive will be installed on March 3rd. Talk about government. This bus shelter is like 5 feet by 10 feet. The federal government wanted to require us to do an environmental impact study of that space in order to install that bus shelter. It's basically bolted to the sidewalk. It delayed the project 6 months, Carrie, at least, and they finally relented and said, okay, you don't have to do the economic impact study. We did have to put in a new sidewalk, again, a federal requirement because the slope of the existing sidewalk was a couple degrees off. So government at its best. So let's talk about city life and crime trends. I don't think many people know what our crime rates are in Lancaster or what's been happening with crime rates. But as part of that, I want to just review the calls that our police and fire department answer. In 2008, the police department responded to 58,251 calls. In 2019, 62,282. I tried to do a 10-year comparison, but I couldn't readily find the 2009 stats. I'm sure Chief Pilar had them. But fire responses, 2009, they responded to 7,657 calls. In 2019, 10,651. That's a 39% increase in calls. Our safety forces are stretched to the limit. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. I'm not sure how well all of you can see the graphs up here, but what I did, I went back and pulled from our 911 logs the responses for the last 5 years. And let me find my pointer again here, whatever I did with it. The far left-hand column for you is burglaries and breaking and enterings, fairly constant. Theft, significantly down. It peaked in 2016 at just shy of 2,400 calls. This year it was about 1,550, down significantly. Sometimes thefts can be associated with the drug culture. So we're going to talk more about that in a second. Vandalism also has dropped from 2015. It's been fairly steady with a little uptick here in 2019. Motor vehicle thefts, pretty constant over the years. That's property crimes. Personal violence, assaults on the far left, fairly level after 2015. Domestic violence, unfortunately, not a good trend. We see that. I get the police reports, and unfortunately there's way too much domestic violence, and we're talking about 1,800 approximately calls a year for domestic violence. Don't know why that happens, but there it is. Fights dropped down over the last 4 years, and sex offenses and rapes, just a very tiny uptick over the last few years. Drugs, addiction, suicide. This is probably a surprise to many of you. There are so many social media posts, and in fact, there's an article on the front page of the Eagle Gazette this morning about how terrible the drug problem is in Lancaster. Since 2016, we have seen a significant drop in drug offenses and also overdoses. We've seen it went up until 2017, 15, 16, 17, it increased, and it started to drop again. Suicides, kind of like domestic violence, are on the rise. And again, I don't know why that is. Probably some of our social service agencies might have a better handle on that than I do. So is the drop in the drug issue that we've seen here supported by anything else? Well, coincidentally, just last week, I received a publication from the Ohio Department of Health that they started this new program where they are publicizing the emergency department visits for overdoses. So this is 2017. This is a map of the level of overdoses reporting to the emergency departments of hospitals. You can see we were about in the middle of the pack of the state based on the color. Right here, we had 523 overdose visits to emergency rooms in Fairfield County, or 71.4 for each 10,000 emergency department visits. 2019, here we are right here, it dropped to 410 overdose visits, or 48.5 per 10,000 emergency department visits. So why is that happening? It kind of confirms the drop in police responses for drug issues in Lancaster. Certainly there's been a reduction in prescriptions for opioids. We have 2 Adam H. levies in Fairfield County. The Fairfield County citizens have been very generous, and they passed an Adam H. levy in 2014, and again another one in 2018, which produces about $6 million a year to address the drug issue and mental health issues in Fairfield County. That $6 million, Adam H. doesn't provide any services themselves, but they support 16 agencies in Fairfield County that address mental health, drug, alcohol issues. And certainly, I think they probably had some impact on those numbers also. Their efforts basically support prevention and treatment. We also have interdiction is the third leg of attacking the drug problem, and certainly between Lancaster Police Department, the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office, and the Major Crimes Unit, that Fairfield County, Lancaster, and a number of surrounding counties provide resources and officers to. We continue to see announcements of drug busts and progress on attacking the drug issue in Fairfield County. Cost of living in Lancaster. My favorite thing on social media, I get so many posts about we're ripping off the customers, we're spending all this money that they're having to spend. So I thought, let's go find out. So what's it like to live in Lancaster? So I'm sure that you cannot read this from the back, but this was an article in the Columbus Dispatch just a couple of weeks ago. And it showed that Fairfield County had City of Lancaster had the largest increase in median sales price of homes between 2018 and 2019, and that was 15.6%. In 2018, the median sales price of a home was $128,000. In 2019, it was $148,000, a huge increase. I know there was a big uproar when the county auditor announced the changes in valuation because my home isn't worth that much, but certainly the sales statistics are showing that. We were 15.6% increase. Newark was at 14, Canal Winchester at 10, and it goes down from there. Pickerington, 0.3%, small increase. Gahanna, 0.6%. Delaware, 3.1%. Grove City, 3.6%. So it's a seller's market in Lancaster, certainly. I think this points out that we have good value in our homes here. Not only that, but Lancaster is a very attractive place to live. People are moving here to live here. Next, natural gas cost. We have a municipal gas company. We're one of the 2 cities in Ohio that has its own gas company. Hamilton is the other one. And I get so many comments about our gas prices are high. This is information from an actual Columbia Gas bill for a family in town. This is their bill for the year, a 2,600 square foot home, family of 4 with furnace, hot water tank, cook stove, and a generator, all natural gas operated. The bill from Columbia Gas for the year, $861. The bill from Lancaster Municipal Gas, we took that same usage and applied Lancaster rates to it, $727, or a saving of almost $134. Why is that the case? Our 100 cubic foot rates are higher than Columbia Gas. They certainly have a lot of buying power. They, however, have a $30 base charge on their bill. If you use no gas, you pay $30. Our base charge is $6. So you'll see in the heavy use months, our cost actually exceeds theirs. In February here, 179 100 cubic feet. 124, we were actually higher at 131. In March, 116, we were at 122. From there on, we were lower every month during the year. $133 savings, good value for the city of Lancaster, citizens of Lancaster. Trash collection. Lancaster, for a regular resident with one large toter, $13.50, $9.50 for seniors. These are rates from other areas around either the suburbs of Lancaster, like out off of Sheridan Drive and Rainbow Drive, Canal Winchester, Circleville, Pickerington, and Westerville. These either came from actual bills from consumers that live in that area or quotes directly from the hauler that serves that area. Lancaster suburbs, $30 a month. That's out on the east side of town off of Sheridan Drive. Newark, $20 a month plus $3 per cart that they have. Canal Winchester, $31 a month. Circleville, $31 a month. Pickerington, $9.54 for a private hauler, but they have lots of add-on fees, and this came from the hauler, not from a consumer. $2.60 per cart plus other fees. Their average bill is $18 a month, and that's what the provider told us. Westerville, $21.50, $19.71 for seniors. Again, good value for the city of Lancaster. And the last time Lancaster sanitation rates were raised was 2003. So, way to go, Bill Burrows in the sanitation department. By the way, about a month ago, I received a call from another Central Ohio mayor that asked if the city of Lancaster would be willing to take over their sanitation for their city from a private hauler. We said no. We need to concentrate on the citizens of Lancaster, but it sure made me feel good that somebody out there thought we were doing a great job. Water and sewer. We're at the top of the heap here. We are water and sewer for 6 units of water. In a month, we are at 102.33. Marysville, 99.86. The rest of them are significantly lower than that. Why? Well, I can tell you from my experience at the Ohio Mayors Alliance, which is the mayors of the 30 largest cities in Ohio, we are the only city among those that isn't under a federal consent decree to improve our sewer and water systems. As an example, the city of Lima is under a federal consent decree requiring it to spend $300 million to upgrade their systems. Why aren't we under one? Because we got ahead of the game. Mike Nixon, the superintendent of water and water pollution control, got out ahead of the game. We do have an agreement with the EPA to do certain things over a period of years, but we are not controlled by the federal court, which I can assure you is not a good thing. So we are a legacy city. That means we have really old, especially sewers. Some of our sewers are actually brick. They're under the street. We think we know where they go, but sometimes they aren't where they should be according to the map. And when something happens to these, it can be very expensive to fix it. So these go all the way down to 62, 64, 48, 64. But I can tell you that these other cities are going to get it. Based on what I've learned from other mayors, they may be lower now, but over the long haul, their citizens are going to get hit and hit hard with water and sewer rates. One of the things that's happening with us, the Lawrence Street Water Pollution Control Plant is facing a $25 million upgrade. We are currently getting engineering done on that. I've toured those plants, and there's a lot of moving parts, motors, mixers, and other moving parts, and they wear out. And so we are faced with upgrading, replacing a lot of those systems, hopefully to make us more efficient. We use $20,000 a month of electricity to run each one of our water pollution control and water treatment plants. So they're energy concentrated, and this is going to help be more efficient and also get the thing so it works for another 25 years. The last time it was updated was 1994. So just to show you, and this is from a report by the Ohio EPA, the orange line is inflation, or the consumer price index increase. The blue line is the increase in, the left one is sewer rates, and you can see significantly higher jumps here in the last few years. This one is the increase in water rates for all the sewer and water systems in the state of Ohio. So big increases. This isn't going to change. The EPA is hard after everybody to clean up their water. And then there's stormwater. We have a stormwater fee, $7.64 for a resident. Residents, if you have a business that has lots of paid parking lots or a big building, you're paying more than that. Columbus is $8.42. It goes down from there. Some cities pay for this service or this cost through real estate taxes or other ways. We pay for it by this fee. As an example of what it costs to upgrade some of these systems, the current Forest Rose 5th, 6th stormwater separation project is going to cost over $4 million for just about 5 or 6 blocks of space. So it's very expensive. Again, we're a legacy city. At one point we had 3 combined sewer overflow points in the city where during a heavy rain event, in the sewers that stormwater and sewer water flow together. In a heavy rain event, it just overflowed out into the local streams. We're down to 9. So we're making progress. We're getting there. It's expensive to do that. NOPEC, our new energy aggregator. Another thing that caused a lot of controversy. I have learned more and more about NOPEC, and the more I learn, the more impressed I are. They are the largest public energy aggregator in the country. They are considered a government entity, meaning that their employees are covered by OPERS, which is the state retirement system. They are audited by the state auditor. All the board members are Ohio elected officials, either county commissioners, mayors, township trustees, or maybe a county engineer thrown in there sometime. They serve 237 cities in Ohio, including 510,000 electric customers and 425,000 gas customers. They have about 40% of the electric service to Ohio residents. I forget the number for gas customers. It's something less than 40%. And as of last Friday, they had enrolled 7,088 customers through the NOPEC aggregation plan. That replaces First Energy, who we rolled off of, who had only about 6,000 customers. So good for NOPEC. They're doing a great job. And this is the biggie. I'm sure you can't read that back there, but I published this before. I haven't published it generally yet because I wanted to save it for this. This is the local tax burden for all the cities in Central Ohio. It goes from top to bottom. It includes income tax based on the current income tax rate, sales tax based on the current sales tax rate, real estate taxes, same thing. The income is based on a $50,000 income. Sales tax is based on $20,000 of expenditures because you don't spend all your income on taxable items. The real estate tax is based on a $200,000 home. And again, the school district income tax is based on $50,000. Our local tax burden, $5,674, $5,674. At the top of the heap, Canal Winchester, $8,971. It goes down from there. Newark, $6,281. Pickerington, $6,734. Circleville, $6,863. Delaware, 7243. I'm not going to read them all. We are a great place to live. We are a bargain. I see I'm running short on time here, so let's get with it. City by the numbers. I published this 2 years ago at my State of the Union. We have a lot of people. We have a lot of miles of infrastructure. We have a lot of vehicles. Our average employee has been here almost 13 years. Our average vehicle is 10 years old. We have 2,500 street lights, 1,900 fire hydrants, on and on. I'm not going to dwell on that a long time. So this is the education part of this, and I'm going to explain kind of how government works in 5 minutes or less. So first of all, we have enterprise departments, and that's gas, water, water pollution control, sanitation, stormwater, and utilities collection. They are like little companies within the city. They generate their own revenue from rates. They pay their own expenses. They do not get any tax money from the city. They cannot give any money to the city. If they have a good year and Mike sells a lot of gas and he has a bigger profit, that has to stay in the gas department. It can't go over to fund any other things in the city. If we provide services as a general government to those departments, such as information and technology for computers, telephones, software, we have to bill them for that, and we have to prove to an auditor every few years that we have not overcharged them. We have to hire a special auditor to come in to make sure that the general fund departments do not cheat the enterprise departments by overcharging them to supplement the general fund. So they are enterprise departments. We have special fund departments. Streets and transportation is the biggie. People would be surprised to learn that no income tax money goes to pave streets. It's all from gas tax, license plate fees, and also the 3 mil levy that was passed 5 or 6 years ago by the citizens, and is part of the real estate tax burden that you saw. So if the street department provides some service for the general fund or the general good of the city, such as spraying for mosquitoes in the spring, we have to pay them for that. We actually turn over to the street department $150,000 a year of general fund money to reimburse them for the services they provide to the city of Lancaster that isn't street related. Community development, their funding comes from the CDBG grants, municipal court from fees. We have some that are kind of hybrid. Cemetery gets about 1/3 of their budget from the general fund. Public transit gets $73,000 a year, every year, and that is to provide local match for the federal and state grants that they apply for. If we could give them more money, they could apply for larger grants. If we gave them less, their funding would be limited from those grants. Parks and Recreation, all their funding comes from the city income tax, which is divided up into 3 segments. 1.75% of that, 0.15% goes directly to the parks, 1% goes to the general fund, and 0.6% goes to safety forces. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. The parks do not get any money from other income tax from the general fund. They do get fees from pool admissions, fees for soccer leagues, other things such as that. And then there are the city departments: fire, police, building, engineering, code enforcement, law director, municipal court, economic development, tree commission, income tax, auditor, treasurer, human resources, all these other things, mayor, city council, commissions. All these are paid from the general fund. Let's get to it. So here are what we've spent for safety forces in the blue bar all the way back to 2006. We finally, in 2019, spent more than we spent in 2008, which was the high year. So what's happened to our world in those 11 years? The city's gotten bigger, more population, technology has happened, technology is expensive. We had the drug crisis, epidemic, whatever you want to call it. Lots of things have happened to make it more complicated. State and federal regulations have gone bonkers. Complying with those things is ever more expensive and time-consuming. The pink lines down here are the general fund that pays for all these other departments. Again, we are still below what we spent back in 2007, 2008 for all those services. And again, all that stuff has happened. Regulation, computers, tasers, body cams, all this kind of stuff has happened. But we all remember that when we were kids, we could buy a loaf of bread for 18 cents, I remember. So the cost of everything has gone up. How's that impacted the city budget? Well, here's a graph of the safety forces. The blue bar is the same as the one you saw in the prior slide. The yellow bar is adjusted for inflation. So we have lost $3.6 million in spending power from 2008 until 2019 because of inflation. On the general government side, same thing. The pink bar is the same as the one you saw a couple slides ago. The yellow bar is the spending power. So we have lost $1.4 million of spending power to fund all those departments that I showed you. So, big problem. Remember I said the third thing I learned was we have no money? We have no money. So what have we done this year? In the 2020 budget, we reduced forces for police and fire by 3. That doesn't mean they're operating with 3 less. They're actually operating with more than 3 less because they've had retirements, injuries, sickness, so they are down even below that number. It takes 6 to 8 months to hire a policeman. They have to first pass the civil service exam and score in the top. They have to be interviewed, physical, drug test, psychological test, polygraph, and if they're not OPATA certified, they have to go to school, which we send them to the Ohio State Patrol Academy. Some that have an associate's degree in criminal justice or something like from Hocking Tech or one of the other community colleges probably are already OPATA certified. We've had line item reductions in training supplies. We eliminated any vehicle purchases for the police because they get a lot of miles and hard use, so we try to replace 3 every year. We ordered 3 in January of 19, we just got them a few weeks ago. We're done until we get more money. Service reductions, lockout assistance. We get something like 1,500 calls a year. I lock myself out of my car or my house. We will not be responding to those any longer unless a child is involved. Parking enforcement, routine parking enforcement is gone. If you have a special situation, we have some repeat offenders. Limit color guard. You may remember that in the past we had the color guard present the colors at this event. We no longer will be doing that. It costs $500 in overtime every time we use the color guard. They appeared many times during the year. They will be restricted to the July 4th parade and the holiday parade. And we're eliminating 1 detective position. That person will be assigned back to street duty. Fire department, again, reduction in force, numerous line item cuts. General government, no pay increases for non-union employees. We obviously have 5 unions in the city. They have contracts that we have to abide by. They got their increases, but any non-union employees did not get an increase. We increased the health insurance contribution for obvious reasons that I talked about before, and numerous other line item cuts. So what's the situation look like? This is the city income tax, and the top of the slide's cut off, but this is the current mix. So we have of our 1.75%, 0.6 is dedicated to safety forces. That generates about $7.2 million a year. The budget in 2020 for safety forces is $19.2 million. So they get a big chunk of this yellow piece, which is the general fund piece. We have on the ballot, March 17th, a 0.45% income tax increase, which will increase the safety forces to 1.05%, or about $12 million. Again, the budget is $19.2 million, so they will still get a big chunk of increase from this. By the way, general fund income comes from income tax, which generates about $20 million. We get about $5 million from other sources, like we get about $2 million from real estate taxes, which the city does not determine. That's governed by the Ohio Revised Code, and it's considered the inside millage, which is the first 10 mils you pay in real estate taxes. By code or by Ohio Revised Code, we get a certain portion of that. We also get about $1.2 million a year from charges to insurance companies, Medicare, Medicaid for medic runs. We get some other fees like building permit fees and those kind of things. All that totals up to about $5 million, so a total of $25 million. But even with increasing the safety forces to 1.05%, they're still going to get a big chunk of this piece to meet their budget. We need that. So what would we do if this passes? There's a lot of needs in the city. Safety forces, we would restore the cuts that we made in the 2020 budget. Cost about $600,000. We would add a 4th staff medic, desperately needed. Our folks are stressed, overworked. I can't tell you enough. Chief Ward and Assistant Chief Watts are here. They can probably tell you how that is. But it costs $1.3 million to add a 4th medic. It takes 12 firefighter medics to staff 1 medic, supplies and equipment. We would add a directed patrol unit, which is a sergeant and 3 police officers, $800,000. A new boiler for police headquarters. Old, 60s vintage, doesn't work. We have lots of repairs all the time. We need a new boiler, cost $100,000. And the balance that would be generated by the 0.45% would go to restore the cuts made in the general government departments, cuts that were made to fund safety forces. And by the way, this tax increase has been endorsed by the Firefighters Union, by the Lancaster Fairfield County Chamber of Commerce. So, hopefully I've convinced you that we don't have any money and we need more. What I would suggest is that you leave here and you go right down the street to the Board of Elections and vote early. According to Google Maps, it takes 4 minutes to get there. It's 1.6 miles. And you can be in and out of there in 10 minutes. I've voted that way for probably the last 20 years. Zip in, zip out, you're done. Vote for investing in Lancaster. Oh, I'm over time, but I got 2 more quick things. Local governments in Ohio are driving the campaign to promote energy conservation in Ohio. There is an organization called Power a Clean Future Ohio. It's heavily sponsored by the Ohio Mayor's Alliance. Lancaster, I will be proposing to City Council that they pass a resolution to get involved with this and help save energy in the city of Lancaster. They will also provide grant sources, other funding areas that we can use to, say, convert to LED lights, etc. And the biggie, the U.S. Census. We are a month away from the census. It is extremely important to the city of Lancaster, the state of Ohio, that everyone gets counted. There is $675 billion in the federal budget that is distributed based on population. We need to have everybody counted. Councilman Orman Hall, who's right down here, is heading up our Complete Count Committee. We need to get everybody there. Ohio is also in danger of losing one of our 16 congressional seats. Again, our population will will make a difference in whether we keep that 16th seat or not. If we lose that representation in Congress, that's a lot of power that evaporates for the state of Ohio. That's it. I'm done. Follow my Facebook page if you go to @MayorChef or on Twitter. You can also call my office, 687-6600. I hope I've been informative. I haven't seen anybody fall asleep. It wasn't exciting, but I hope you learned something. Great. Have a great day.
Well, thank you, Mayor Scheffler. We appreciate the insight. I appreciate everybody coming out today. Look forward to our next event, which will be the State of the Schools address coming up on April 2nd. So have a great day, everyone, and again, thank you for attending.
The 2020 State of the City Address is brought to you by South Central Power Company, serving more than 120,000 members across Ohio, and they're proud to call Lancaster and Fairfield County home. South Central Power members who participate in the Co-op's Operation Roundup program recently celebrated $3 million in lifetime grants invested back into the community, including scholarships to students across Central Ohio. You can learn more at southcentralpower.com. And by Fairfield National Bank. They know when life gets real, you need a banker who cares about your story. Take Lauren, for example. After her father passed away, Lauren knew her mother should move in with her, but she also knew Mom needed help getting her finances in order. That's why they sat down with one of our bankers, and together they got the attention and accounts they needed to navigate the transition. And Lauren found the free time to finally learn to make her mom's favorite pie. We call that banking built for living. Come by or visit fairfieldnationalbank.com to find an account built for your life. Fairfield National Bank is a division of the Park National Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.